question the landings in Åndalsnes were a British military operation conducted in 1940 during the Norwegian campaign of World War II. After the invasion of German troops in Norway and their capture of Trondheim, the Allies decided to retake this important port, operating from converging directions from Åndalsnes, located 160 kilometers south of the city, and Namsos, located 125 kilometers to the north. In addition, the detachment was supplemented by the 21st Light Battery of anti-aircraft guns of the Royal Marine, 12 pom-poms on improvised mounts, and 3 3.7-inch howitzers with crews from sailors. Overall command of the detachment was entrusted to Lieutenant Colonel Simpson, while artillery was commanded by Major Beasley of the Royal Marines. The received instructions stated that the following night the ships were to proceed to central Norway, and orders would be received later. The sloops set out to sea heavily loaded, with a draft 1 foot deeper than usual. A large amount of heavy equipment was placed on the decks of the ships. Near the shores of Scotland, the squadron entered a stormy wind zone, which reduced the speed of the ships and prevented them from arriving in Norway by dawn without the risk of losing critically important gear. Under these conditions, it was decided to go into Invercargill for the night. Upon arrival at the location, an order was received from the Admiralty indicating that the landing site was the port of Åndalsnes. The British believed that the port was under the control of Norwegian forces. However, if there were German troops present, the landing should be cancelled. 2 of the 3 howitzers were to be unloaded along with the crews in Ålesund to control the approaches to the fjords. During the night, the wind calmed down, and early in the morning of April 16, the sloops left Invergordon. On the way, Lieutenant Colonel Simpson received news that following his Marines, 1,000 territorial soldiers would be sent to Åndalsnes, and Simpson should prepare for their arrival. On the afternoon of April 17, the British destroyer Ashanti, which was already operating in the area, arrived at the Norwegian port of Molde, where it requested the Norwegian destroyer Sleipnir to help scout the fjord to Åndalsnes, as a convoy with the vanguard was expected to arrive that evening. Upon reaching Åndalsnes, the British sailors found that the town was quiet, after which 30 Marines disembarked from Ashanti to secure the dock and port area. At the same time, British heavy cruisers York, Effingham, and light cruiser Calcutta were patrolling at sea along the coast. At 3 p.m., ships from York spotted sloops entering the Romsdal Fjord, and by around 10 p.m., the ships with the vanguard arrived in Åndalsnes. On the evening of April 18, transport ships began disembarking British soldiers in Åndalsnes and in Molde, located 15 kilometers to the west. The 148th Infantry Brigade of G. Morgan and a light anti-aircraft battery were landed. That same night, the brigade commander sent 2 companies by train to Dombås, which on the morning of April 19, supported by the fire of the anti-aircraft battery, attacked the German paratroopers who had landed on April 14 and were isolated by Norwegian forces, forcing them to surrender. Then the 148th Brigade was sent south by train and on April 22 to 23 suffered heavy losses in battles against advancing German forces. In this situation, the British command, on the evening of April 23, landed an additional 15th Infantry Brigade under the command of Smith in Åndalsnes and Molde, under the cover of 2 aircraft carriers, and immediately sent it to the area of Odda south of Dombås. On April 26, General Paget, appointed to command the British contingent, arrived with his staff at the Norwegian General Ruge's headquarters and stated that 2,000 British soldiers would arrive in the area of Åndalsnes each day, bringing the total number of Allied troops in this direction to 10,000. Additionally, Paget reported that 5 to 6 British divisions would be sent to other areas of Norway. From April 25 to 27, the 15th Brigade fought alongside Norwegian forces against the enemy in the area of the villages of Kvam and Kerm. On April 26, Åndalsnes was bombed by the German Air Force. On the same day, General Paget sent a telegram to the military department requesting support. However, by that time, the English and French commands had received information about the impending Wehrmacht offensive against France, so the Allies decided to abandon southern and central Norway and focus their efforts solely on the struggle for the northern regions of the country. On April 28, the order for the evacuation of Allied troops was given. On the night of April 30 to May 1, the evacuation of troops arriving from Dombås by rail to the ships of Vice Admiral Edward Collins's squadron began. The Luftwaffe attempted to hinder the evacuation. All the docks in the port, except for one, were destroyed by bombing. To weaken the Luftwaffe's attacks on the units engaged in the evacuation, the British began bombing airfields in Norway. The last ship with Allied troops departed from Åndalsnes on the night of May 2. In the morning of May 3, an act of surrender of Norwegian forces in central Norway was signed.